the scene in our homeland, boys. Let it grow where all can see. Feed it with our devotion, boys. Call it the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sun.
Oh, hi, and welcome to my beautiful Flamingo, Florida home. You're going back to the 1950s. I've decorated everything from the 1950s. I was very happy to grow up during that time period. It was a great time to be a kid, because what had happened, our parents had gone through the Depression and World War II, and when the 1950s came along, they just wanted to have families and have a good time. So a lot of the stuff might seem very silly to you at this point, but it didn't seem silly to us at all. It seemed to be a lot of fun. And the toys I'm going to show you from the time period, this little doll wraps it up here. Not an ordinary toy, manufactured with the founders of America in mind to keep Americans aware of our heritage. Okay, we're very proud of the country during this time period. Again, we had just won World War II. It's amazing what some molded plastic and your imagination, how it could bring hours and days of fun to a child. All right, as I said earlier, it was Walt Disney that got my friends and I first interested in American history with his different TV shows. The music you heard when this began was the song The Liberty Tree. And here's the record of it from Johnny Tremain, the album. And here are, if you remember the little yellow records that we used to have, here's Johnny Tremain again. And here they are at the Boston Tea Party. Here he is as the silversmith, again, Johnny Tremain. And of course, Disney came out with a lot of merchandising at the time to make money on these different things. So here is the Johnny Tremain crayon set, crayon and stencils that you could play with, and the different things you could color and draw. And also the luxury item, the Johnny Tremain pistol. Okay, the cap pistol where you put the cap there and shot it. And the Johnny Tremain hat, okay, with Johnny Tremain on it. So these were just some of the items, and it was promoted also in our local newspaper. They had a segment, and every Sunday there was a different segment on Johnny Tremain. And here he is in the Walt Disney Magazine, Johnny Tremain on the cover, okay? And just looking inside, you can get Mickey Mouse shoes for $4.95. A little less expensive than you could now. Here's a comic book also showing Paul Revere's Ride, The Midnight Ride with Johnny Tremain, all right? So Johnny Tremain's originally a book, but with all this, the Disney movie and all this merchandising, this is how we learned American history from that one period. You heard music previously from Johnny Tremain. Well, now you're going to hear the music from the Swamp Fox. And some of you actually may remember this tune. And here is the Swamp Fox comic book, all right, with Leslie Nielsen on it. A young Leslie Nielsen, of course he was a nice looking man, so he was the Swamp Fox. I was extremely disappointed when I took this book out in our library, which was at Parsons Memorial School in Harrison, New York, and found out that Swamp Fox was actually a wizened little old man, but he was still a hero. And of course, Disney came out with different Swamp Fox things to go along with his merchandising. Here was the coloring book on the Swamp Fox. And here was actually a premium where you would send away, and for only 50 cents, a $1 value, and you're getting it for half price. And you would send away, but you needed 2 Canada Dry bottle caps to send in, right? And you got a Swamp Fox pistol. What it looked like, was just Johnny Tremaine pistol pretty much, except it was just black and silver and a little more cheaply made. Well, what do you want for 50 cents, right? And here you may remember TV Guide. Of course, this one has Miss Kitty and Gunsmoke on the cover, but it is introducing the Swamp Fox. Hopefully it will be a new Davy Crockett. All right, so this got us interested also in history, and you learned about geography too, because here is Leslie Nielsen on the cover of the Swamp Fox game. And here are all the Revolutionary War locations in South Carolina during the war. Okay, and of course you were fighting the British. Everyone wanted to be an American at the time. So that was the Swamp Fox. And here is another comic book. This movie came out at the time in the 50s with Robert Stack as John Paul Jones. I have not yet begun to fight. This is how we learn those famous American sayings. The movie, if you ever do see it, also has a cameo of Bette Davis playing Catherine the Great. I mean, that alone is worth watching. But here you also learned about the American flags in the Revolutionary War on the back. And here is another comic on the American Navy during the Revolutionary War. And here are just a few more comics on the Revolutionary War from the time period. Jerry, the Drummer Boy. Okay. Classics Illustrated, The Spy. I always liked this because it took place in Westchester County, New York, where I grew up. Here is Tomahawk with Miss Liberty. Okay. She got into the war also. You might recognize this. I have the t-shirt. I'm wearing it the whole time, the Star Spangled Banner series. And even Superboy goes to the Revolutionary War. Here he is helping Benjamin Franklin with his electricity experiment with a kite. And on the back of these, you could buy, for $1.98, 204 Revolutionary War soldiers. And these look great. It was a whole huge battle going on. Of course, I sent away for it, and I expected them to come the next day. I mean, a kid has no conception of time. They came months later, and I said, well, what is this? How do you fit 200 and something soldiers in here, in this little box? Well, this is how they do it. These are the soldiers. They're just little flat plastic soldiers. But that's all right. You could still play with them and enjoy them. We also had model kits at the time. Here's one to make a Revolutionary War cannon. And here's another one to make John Paul Jones's ship. The Stahl series came out. As you can see, there's a whole series of these. Benjamin Franklin, Paul Revere, John Paul Jones, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Patrick Henry, and Nathan Hale. And here's poor Nathan Hale. I regret I only have one life to give for my country. All right, his famous saying, but that's how we learned all of these. Here is Paul Revere, 2 arms, the redcoats are coming. And more books from the library, that Landmark series, Valley Forge, the Winter at Valley Forge. Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys, they had whole bookcases of these in that school I went to, the elementary school. And my name was in the card over and over and over and over again on those books. Here are some dolls, nicely made little dolls, although this poor one is wounded. And this one has kind of a wobbly head. That's why I'm holding her up together. It came out. Here is Heartland, and here's George Washington. Okay, Heartland came out with a whole series with a lot of, they were all on horses. But there were also all those Westerns that came out in the 1950s and early 60s. And Heartland had one of these for every character in them. High tech at the time, okay, the Viewmaster, Colonial Williamsburg, where you could see all the sights on that. Another little miniature cap pistol that actually works, and this is the one for George Washington. They had a whole series of these. Here are another Disney thing, Frontierland Lincoln Logs. So as you're playing, you could build the Lincoln Logs and experience the Revolutionary War time period also. These are Warriors of the World that came out. They came in little boxes, and they also had a little card that described the person, the soldier they were talking about. And of course, if you went to somewhere, you could bring back a souvenir at the time. This is from Bennington, all right, the little tom-tom drum. And of course, you wanted a Revolutionary War rifle, the old type of musket put out. It actually is a cap gun. It actually came with a ramrod. You could ram the bullet down. This was the, quote, bullet, a little cork ball. And you made believe just like you were a soldier at the time period. And these came also with rubber bayonets, which broke the first day you had them, and there was no way to fix them. And the most fun toy of all, at least for me, was the Revolutionary War Marks playset. With the British and the Americans, mine had a couple of Johnny Tremaine figures in it, the Sons of Liberty house. So you could have hours and hours of fun doing all the Revolutionary War battles and then setting them up and doing the same thing again the next day.